Welcome to the Notion of Life series, in which we are building the ultimate Notion system that helps us to get more results with less effort. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Notion of Life Trinity. The Notion of Life Trinity are the three main components out of which our entire system is built. And the components are databases, templates, and dashboards. In this video, we are going to explore how these components work, how they are structured inside of the system, and what their added value is. But first, here is a brief overview of the components and how they work together. Databases store large quantities of information, allowing us to easily capture, organize, and resurface it. Templates are pre-designed pages inside of a database that guide us through a process and that can be generated an infinite amount of times. And dashboards are pages that aggregate information and resurface them in a functional and user-friendly way. Within a Notion of Life, the three components are related to each other in the following way. There are 16 databases that function as the backbone of the system, and each of them is related to one of the phases of the circle of growth. So, for example, there is a daily review database which falls under the review phase. Now, if you want to learn more about the circle of growth, I can highly recommend checking out the video that I made on the topic. Link is in the description down below. Inside many of these databases, there are templates that will guide us through a process related to the function of this particular database. For example, inside the daily review database, there is a template that generates a brand new daily review with just one click of the button. I click on this generate new daily review, and inside of that page, I have everything that I need to do my actual review. Lastly, the 6 dashboards all represent one of the phases from the circle of growth, giving us easy access to information related to that particular part of the process. Now, an important thing to note is that both our templates and our dashboards consist mostly out of linked views of the earlier mentioned databases. For example, both our daily review template and the execution zone contain a linked view of the action tracker database, showing us all of the action items that we have planned for today. So we have this one central database, and then we resurface this view in these different templates and in these different zones. All right, now that we have covered the intro, it's time to get into the meat of the matter. In the Notion's fundamental video, we covered what databases are and how they function inside of Notion. Now, I'm fully aware that all this talk of databases might seem boring, complex, and even intimidating. But I'd like to ask you to let go of any of the apprehensions that you might have for the next 15 minutes and play around with these ideas. Because you'll learn that databases inside of Notion are tremendously powerful and even quite fun. Just to recap. A database is simply a structured set of data that can easily be accessed or modified. Within Notion, we have the ability to create database views, which allow us to display specific information in a variety of visual layouts. Next, we can create linked databases, which are instances of the original database that can be resurfaced in many different places. Making a change in any of these linked databases will automatically update all the other instances of this database. So let's look at an example. We might have the action tracker database, and inside of this action tracker, we have created a view called daily actions. Now, this view has a filter applied that says only show action items that have a due date for today. It also has a sort applied that says sort these action items by priority. The result that we get is a beautiful action list on which we see all of our actions for today sorted by their priority. We can then create a linked version of this daily actions view inside of our execution zone, and any changes we make in there will also be reflected in the original database. And an important note to make here is that if you make a view in the original database, you can generate this particular view in a linked version of that database with just a single click. So it's always worthwhile to create the views in the original database and then copy them to other places. Lastly, it's possible to relate databases to each other. And what this allows us to do is to gather entries from one database and connect them to another. For example, we can relate the action tracker database to the project tracker database and then link particular entries from these databases to each other. So we can say this action belongs to that project and this project belongs to that action. The backbone of a notion of life consists of 16 databases, and in line with the design consistency principle, each of these databases has their own emoji. Whenever a particular database is resurfaced anywhere in the system, it is always denoted with this particular emoji, making it easy to recognize. Let's have a look at the 16 databases. As mentioned before, each of these databases is part of one of the phases from the circle of growth. So over here we have the insight databases. The first one is the 6 life areas, which features dashboards for each of the 6 different life areas. And this is a model that we will cover later on in this series. The second one is the core insights. And this database contains all of our core values, principles, and affirmations. And then the last one is the vision goals, which contains all of our long-term and abstract vision goals. Next, we have the execution and the planning phase together. These have quite some overlap in the databases, so they are classified together. The first one is the action tracker, and this is the most used database in the entire system, and it contains all of our action items. The second one is the project tracker, which contains all of our projects. And then the third one is the habit tracker, which contains all of our habits. Then over here we have the knowledge databases. The first one being the knowledge classification database, which is used for classifying and viewing our different knowledge pieces. The second one is the personal knowledge, which contains all of the knowledge that we have generated ourselves, things like ideas and notes and brainstorm sessions. And then the third one is the external knowledge, which contains all of the knowledge pieces we have gathered from outside sources, things like media, podcasts, books, you name it. Next, we have the review phase, and this is really the part of the system that makes it a system. This is what keeps it going over the long term. The first one here is the daily review, in which we do our daily review. Then we have the weekly review, in which we do our weekly review, the monthly review, the quarterly review, and the yearly review. Now, the daily review is a very short feedback loop. We do it today, we see a result tomorrow. Whereas the monthly review is a much larger feedback loop. We might be doing it today and not see results for another month, or we need to wait an entire month before we can actually do the review. And as we go down in these reviews, the feedback loop gets longer, meaning we need to be more patient. Now, we are going to explore these reviews elaborately during this series. For now, it's just good to know that we have these different spaced reviews with different spaced feedback loops, right? The daily review, we do that every single day. Weekly review, wait a little bit longer. Monthly, wait even longer. And then something like the yearly review, we only do it very occasionally, but it's a super powerful tool for shaping our personal and professional development. So these are the review databases. And then over here, we have the reflection databases. And we have the reflection questions, which contains all of the questions that we use all throughout this system, right? I think it's over 100 questions that we use all throughout the system. And then we have the actual reflections, which are the entries that we make for all of these questions. Now, this is the most complex part of the system, so I'm not going to go too deep into that now, but just important to know there's many different reflection questions that we resurface all throughout this system. Over here, you can see a visual overview of these 16 databases and how they relate to each other, right? So we have our daily review feeding into our weekly review, feeding into the monthly, feeding into the quarterly, feeding into the yearly, and then based on those insights that we get from those reviews, we get new core insights. We organize them in the different life areas. We set vision goals for ourselves, and then based on those vision goals, we set SMART goals. We create habits, we create projects, and ultimately we execute on those goals. And then based on our execution, we're going back into that review and we get a better understanding of who we are, right? And the reflection part of that is helping us to get a better understanding of who we are. And then the knowledge part of it is helping us to execute more effectively and efficiently, right? So we're continually getting better knowledge, better insights. We're upgrading that as we are doing our reviews, and then we're using that as fuel to take better actions. And just like that, we have this iterative system that helps us to grow exponentially and live a life of effortless excellence. I want to say it one more time. I realize that databases might not seem very sexy or interesting, but they are really fucking important. They are so important that the entire Notion of Life system is built on the database first principle. This means that, barring the 7 dashboards, every page that we create in our Notion system is an entry inside of a database. Because by unlocking all the powerful features that databases provide us, we can build a system that scales with us over time. A system that allows us to collect, organize, and utilize large quantities of data in an efficient and user-friendly way. Less effort, more result. So let's look at a practical example. You might be doing daily reflections, and each time you do one of these daily reflections, you create a new page inside your Notion dashboard. After a month, you would like to revisit all of your reflections to spot any patterns, but you would have to manually go into each of these pages, read through all the entries, and start looking for patterns. Now, that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and honestly, you probably are not going to do that. Now, suppose you would be creating a new reflection page inside of a database. You create a property in the database called Daily Reflection, and you write all of your reflections inside of this property. Then at the end of the month, you can simply open up this database and read all of the reflections that you've written. Additionally, you can filter the database entries. Perhaps you only want to see the entries that you made every Monday, or the entries for the days in which you rated your mood a 5 or higher, or any other property that you decided to track inside of this database. Databases allow us to do this. They allow us to take large quantities of information and filter them in ways that we only get to see the information that we actually want to see. If you want to build all these databases from scratch by yourself, then I can refer you to this masterclass in which we're building the first version of the Notion of Life system from scratch. However, if you'd rather use this system instead of building it yourself, then you can now enroll for a Notion of Life by following the link in the description down below. Templates are pages inside of a database that are designed once and can then be generated an infinite amount of times with a single click. These pages have the exact same functionality as any other page, meaning that, in theory, we could build the entire Notion of Life system inside one of these templates. Templates are helpful when there's a lot of information that we want to store in a single database entry. Okay, so take, for example, the difference between the action tracker and the project tracker. The action tracker doesn't have a template because all of the relevant information can be stored inside of the database properties, right? The action name, the priority, the status, all of that can be tracked inside of these properties. The project tracker, on the other hand, does have a template because each page that is stored inside the project tracker contains an entire workspace consisting of many other database views and other relevant project information. This is where the true power of Notion arises, when templates and databases are layered on top of each other in this way. It allows us to create many different linked views of a certain database with the click of a single button. To stay with the project tracker example, every time we create a new project using the project tracker template, we generate a unique linked view of the action tracker database, only showing us action items related to that specific project. So let's take a deeper look at this project tracker template to see how that works. Whenever we create a new page inside of this database, a template is automatically generated. This template features a workspace that contains everything that we need to execute on this project. The first section of the template features linked views of all of the databases that we might need for this project, right? We got the related actions, related habits, personal knowledge, external knowledge. And the important thing to note here is that whenever we generate one of these templates, we only see the actions related to this particular project, right? This is really the power of bringing together those templates with those linked views, with those filters, with those relations, and we're going to go way deeper into this during this series, but I just want to show you that is really the peak power of Notion. Then the second section of this template consists of 3 different columns. We have a scratch pad in which we can jot down quick notes and ideas. We have a list of milestones that we plan to hit during this project. And we have a space to upload links and documents that are stored on our local devices. And then if we scroll a bit further down, there is a third section of the project tracker template. And this section consists of 7 different views of the reflections database. Now, each view provides us with a themed set of reflection questions that we can ask ourselves in preparation of the project. Some of these questions include, what are the costs of pursuing this project? And am I willing to pay this price? Or what will my day-to-day life look like when I'm working on this project? And as you can see over here, we have different views with different sets of questions, right? The purpose of the project, the sacrifice, the challenge, the complexity. So these are questions that help us prepare a project beforehand. And once again, any entry that we make in here is automatically related to this project. So we can see these are the reflections that are related to this project. This is the power of templates. With one click, we can instantly generate a brand new workspace for all of our projects. And as mentioned before, 95% of this workspace consists of linked views to other databases, allowing for a long-term and scalable system. This might be a little bit overwhelming now, but trust me, you will get the hang of this and you will build a system that helps you grow exponentially over the long term, because that's what we're here to do. We're not here for a quick fix. We are here for a solution that really helps us live a better life. A Notion of Life contains 14 different templates, and as we progress throughout this series, we are going to explore all of these templates in depth. That leaves us with the final part of our trinity, the dashboards, which are the main interfaces through which we can access our system. A Notion of Life consists of 6 different dashboards which are based on the circle of growth. Additionally, there is a 7th dashboard called the Database Collection Zone in which all of our original databases live. I can highly recommend checking out the video that I made on the circle of growth to get a better understanding of these 6 main dashboards. So let's have a look at one of these dashboards, right? We're in the execution zone here, and as you can see, each of these dashboards has a navigation bar at the top, which also includes 2 quick capture buttons and room for a personal quote. Now, we are going to dive into what a quick capture button is later. Just for now, you can see that is what is inside of this navigation bar. This is then followed by a main section, which consists of a variety of linked database views. Just like in the template, you can see linked database views are the backbone of this system. That is what we are using everywhere. So, for example, inside of this execution zone, we have a linked instance of the action tracker database showing us all of the action items that we had planned for today. But we also have a linked version of the daily review database with this button here that we can easily generate our daily review template. So that is how we structure our dashboards. A navigation bar, some nice aesthetics, and then mostly these linked views of the databases. A last thing to note here is that we use some dashboards more than others, and we even use some templates more than certain dashboards. But that's okay. The goal of the dashboards is to make the information accessible for when we need it. So maybe we don't need it every day, maybe we don't need it every week, but when we need it, we can find it easily. Let's recap. In this video, we took a deep dive in the Notion of Life Trinity, which are the main 3 components out of which the system is built. The first component and the backbone to the system are the 16 unique databases. These databases have different views, are resurfaced in many places, and are connected to each other in a variety of ways. The second component are templates, which are pages inside of the databases that can be generated with a single click. The system features 14 templates that guide us through a variety of processes in a structured way. The last component are the 7 dashboards. 6 for the different phases of the circle of growth, and 1 as a central place to store all of our databases. We can use these dashboards to access specific types of information when we need them. If this video was valuable to you, then please like and subscribe down below. Additionally, enrollment for A Notion of Life is currently open, so if you are interested in that, follow the link down in the description. For now, I thank you for your time and wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace.